We have a lot to cover this week on the Fantasy Grill. I'm super excited to tell you that next week, the fantasy gods will be joining us to talk some fantasy football and give you a preview into some fantasy basketball. But this week, let's start with our waiver wires, and then we'll jump right into our top performers of last week and the ones that I don't want, the surprise best performances of last week. So we'll kick it right in with the top performers of last week at the quarterback position. No surprise, I think the top three, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts maybe would have surprised you early on, but based on what you've been seeing out of him so far this season, you're not surprised. I will say coming in at number 4, which did surprise me against pretty good Bears defense, who, if the Bears do anything or have done anything well this year, it has been running the ball. So I didn't think Kirk Cousins is coming in as your number 4 top performer last week. At the running back position, I don't want to say surprises, but Austin Eckler, who shouldn't surprise you. Leonard Fournette surprised me a little bit coming in at number 2. Josh Jacobs, who's now started to, you've noticed in the last 2 weeks where the Raiders have started to run Josh Jacobs, the team has looked a lot better, right? They won last week, lost only by 1 this week. Josh Jacobs was a guy that I kind of pegged at the beginning of the season, and some of you lost faith in him really early, where I said, look, now Darren Waller's hurt, so that's something we need to keep an eye on. But I said with Hunter Renfrew, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller all being healthy as weapons for Derek Carr to throw to, it's going to open up running lanes for Josh Jacobs. There's too many players, good receivers, that the defense has to look out for and cover, and it's going to open things up for Josh Jacobs. They didn't use him in the first few weeks like they should have. The last 2 weeks they have, and it's proven fantasy dividends in the last couple of weeks. My surprise, no surprise to me because I drafted him in all leagues, the rookie running back from the New York Jets, Breece Hall. Wide receivers, is it safe to say this is the Gabe Davis breakout season? After his playoff performance last year, a lot of people had him very high this year. Been up and down, but that's the inconsistency you're going to get from a number 2 receiver. And, the second or third option in that offense. So I'm not surprised that you've seen some inconsistency, but he was your number 1 wide receiver performer. For some, a surprise. For some, not so much. Justin Jefferson then came in at number 2. No surprise, Devontae Adams. And I put Tyler Lockett in as a kind of honorary mention surprise, being the 4th scoring wide receiver last week. Because what did we expect when Geno Smith, and more on him, when Geno Smith became the starting quarterback for the Seahawks? We didn't expect much from DK and Tyler Lockett, so good for him. Tight end, Taysom Hill having a Taysom Hill kind of game, scoring touchdowns kind of out of every position. Like, I'm just waiting for him to just intercept one, take one to the house, return a kick, return a punt, throw one, run one, receive one. Like, he's going to, I don't know what to say about Taysom Hill. It's just, he is one of the best football players, no position, one of the best football players in the league today. Just how to utilize him and the incredible things that he does. Just fantastic. Then you had Travis Kelce with 4 touchdowns in one game, a la Al Bundy. He actually won me. I'm in a guillotine league. If you're aware of guillotine leagues, lowest team is out. So I'll give you the story. Last minute, I get asked, hey, do you want to play in this guillotine league? I'm like, sure, why not? I'll play in any league, as many as I can. Cool, drafts tonight at 9:00. Awesome. 8:59, I'm recording, and I get a text, hey, don't forget the draft is starting in 1 minute. Well, I'm in the middle of doing a show. I pull up my phone. I pull up the draft. I don't even look. I don't know the rules. I don't know the setup. I just start drafting players. Turns out it's a 2 QB guillotine league. I don't draft quarterbacks until super late in most leagues, unless it's a super flex or a 2 QB league. Not knowing it wasn't a 2 QB league until like round 7, I end up with Jameis Winston and Matt Ryan, which you can see from how Jameis Winston didn't even play the last couple of weeks. So I was going in a 2 QB league with 1 QB. I was down. I was in last place heading into the Monday Nighter. I was about to be eliminated from the Guillotine League until Travis Kelce came to my rescue, 4 touchdowns, like 200 yards and saved the day and squeaked by, I think by like, I don't know. I ended up making like 15 points or something, um, saving to play another week. I was able to go on the waiver wire, used all my fab, but I got two quarterbacks, actually three quarterbacks that'll all be playing. So now I've got five on my roster. And I'm ready to go. I'm ready. I got no money left, but I know that's crazy. But I had no choice. I had to overpay. So here we go. I'm going to make a run in that guillotine league. I'll keep you posted on how that works. Travis Kelce, thank you. And then Mark Andrews, obviously, number 3. So you got Kelce, Andrews, number 2 and 3 in fantasy. All right, to the waiver wire. You had some injuries this week. You had a big one in Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny is now gone for the season. So those of you in leagues where Kenneth Walker was drafted, you're kind of out of luck. For those that were in leagues that maybe drafted him and then dropped him, or he's somehow available because I think he's only picked up on like 63% of the leagues. If Kenneth Walker is available, go pick him up. Another one that I would look for via trade, via, if your competitors are asleep at the wheel, or if you're just looking who to start, Raheem Mostert has now taken over as the number 1 running back in Miami. Listen, keep Chase Edmonds. Keep Chase Edmonds. Excuse me, let me try to say that again. Keep Chase Edmonds as a cuff. However, Mostert had some injuries in the past. So that's one that I would keep, because if he goes out again, Chase Edmonds is right back into your starting lineup. He started off the season well, but obviously they bring in the OC from San Francisco. Mostert understands, knows the system. He's back. He's healthy. He's the starter. So get him into your lineups. At the wide receiver position, I've been telling you, George Pickens. Hello. I've been saying George Pickens, he's going to be the guy. And although Deontay Johnson and Claypool got more targets, he's the one that's making the catches, getting the yards. That will continue to progress as the season continues. So pick him up if he's available. Get him on your roster. If you're watching the Steelers, keep George Pickens around. The one performance from last week that I'll tell you, don't fall for. So beware, buyer beware. I'm seeing a lot of people saying Josh Reynolds moving up those waiver wires. DJ Chark was out last week. Amon St. Brown was a game time decision. He wasn't 100%. He was on a pitch count, and people are going to get fooled by Josh Reynolds. If St. Brown and Chark are in the lineup, you're not going to get that production from Josh Reynolds. So just buyer beware on Josh Reynolds. To the tight end position, we don't talk enough about the tight end position. If he's available, look, he's only rostered in 63% of leagues. David Njoku is one to pick up. If he is by chance taken in your league, of course, Hayden Hurst in Cincinnati, only rostered in 9% of leagues. You're going to start to see so many people to throw the ball to, so many mouths to feed for Joe Burrow. You got to hand it off to Joe Mixon. You're going to throw it to T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. What am I doing with Hayden Hurst? Like I said with Josh Jacobs, those guys are now going to draw the attention, especially people are questioning if T. Higgins or Jamar Chase is the number 1. Jamar Chase is the number 1. But T. Higgins in fantasy has been doing well. And on the field, just regular football, you're seeing teams pay more attention to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. It opens up the middle for guys like Hayden Hurst, especially in the red zone. So Hayden Hurst might be one you want to pick up. Quarterbacks. Again, if you're in a 2 QB, a super flex, you're, 69%. 69%. So that's pretty high. We'll call it 70. But in 30% of leagues, Jared Goff, I can't believe I'm saying Jared Goff's name in a fantasy piece. Jared Goff is available in just over 30% of leagues. The Detroit Lions are just scoring a ton of points. They're giving up a ton of points, but they're scoring a ton of points. Look at Jared Goff as a possible option. As the bye weeks are starting to kick in, you're going to need some points. That is a valuable pickup. For those of you that don't, listen, I was one of those guys. In 74% of leagues, he is not rostered. We wrote Geno Smith off. He did not write back. Geno Smith rostered only in 26% of leagues. He's playing fantastic. So again, if you have an injury, if there's your bye week, et cetera, Geno Smith is a quarterback to look at for the Seattle Seahawks. He's got weapons. He's got DK Metcalf. He's got Tyler Lockett. He's even Disley as a tight end isn't a terrible option. Kenneth Walker's going to start running the ball a little bit. You got to look at all of those things when you're picking guys up. So look at Geno Smith if you need someone. And I normally don't do defenses. I normally don't do defenses or kickers for that matter. But we're going to give you a special treat this week. Keep in mind, like I said, next week, the fantasy gods will be on talking fantasy football and fantasy basketball. Send in your questions to Anthony K at sports underscore. Sorry, let me try that again. Anthony K at sportsfluent.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at sports underscore fluent. Fantasy gods will be on to talk fantasy football and basketball. So the last piece for this week, Jags defense. What? Really? Top 5 in fantasy points are the Jags defense. And the next 4 weeks, you're not going to be that scared when I tell you the next 4 weeks, the Jags have the Colts, the Giants, the Broncos, and the Raiders. Now, let me say this about the Raiders. It's 4 weeks away, so anything can happen, but don't start the Jags against the Raiders 4 weeks from now. That'd be the one that I would say, that's when you pump the brakes on this Jags defense. The Raiders are going to get better. This is a team in the Raiders, so this is just a bonus for all the football fans, not necessarily fantasy. The Raiders, I'm going to say it slow, the Las Vegas Raiders have a chance. They have a bye this week, which couldn't come at a perfect time after a devastating loss, at least to them, to their morale against the Chiefs. They have a chance, if you look at their schedule, to go 6-0 coming out of the bye week in 2 weeks from now and take them from 1-4 to 7-4 and right back into that playoff hunt. Do not be surprised if they go 6-0, 5-1 over the next 6 weeks after this week's bye. And remember, you heard it here first on the Fantasy Grill. Now you're more fluent.